Yo, what up, everybody? Coming up in today's show, we're going to break down the latest news and rumors surrounding the Knicks as Ian Begley of SNY put out a mailbag article over the weekend. A fan asked him what's the deal with all the Knicks trade rumors, pretty much. And he said that he expects the Knicks to seriously engage in trade talks for a star player this year. We're going to break that down on today's video. As you're watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports, I'm your host, Marshall Green. My first thought when I saw this was, if not this year, when is it going to happen? Because at some point, it's the boy who cried wolf. And really, the only actual opportune time for the Knicks to make a trade is this year. And the reason why, the upcoming draft capital they have. Think about it like this. Over the next two NBA drafts, the Knicks will potentially have 6 first-round picks. Where are the minutes and where are the roster spots coming available? 6 of them. 4 players on this Knicks roster. You already have 5 players in the starting rotation that are not being moved. You also have players on the bench that need minutes. Emmanuel Quickley is going to be paid $100 million here pretty soon. Josh Hart's making almost $100 million. Dante DiVincenzo is making almost $50 million. That's 3 players coming off the bench. We know Tibbs likes to keep the rotation tight. They don't have spots for 6 draft picks over the next 2 years. That's why I think the time is now. Some of these first-round draft picks in the 2024 season probably will not convey. I think this pick will convey. I think this pick may not, but it has a chance. If not, both these just roll over in the next year, and then it goes to top 16 and top 10, which makes it more likely to convey. Moral of the story, the time is now, sometime before the NBA draft or maybe beyond draft night of 2024, for the Knicks to make a consolidation trade where they go all in for a superstar. This is what Ian Begley said in that write-up. Quote, "We all expect New York to trade for a big-name player at some point. Knicks Governor James Dolan has referenced that as part of New York's plan under team president Leon Rose in past interviews. Whether it's Joel Embiid, OG Anunoby, Donovan Mitchell, Karl-Anthony Towns, Zion Williamson, or further down the road, Giannis Antetokounmpo, I assume the Knicks will seriously engage another team in trade talks for its star player." While Begley does do pieces where he puts out, his own thoughts and stuff like that, he's very calculated in what he says. If he has not heard that from somebody, he's not going to say it. And since he did, it tells me that he was told that by somebody. So I want to ask you this question. Begley mentioned 6 players. Which of these 6 guys do you think is most likely to be traded to the Knicks? Is it Joel Embiid? Is it OG Anunoby, Donovan Mitchell, Karl-Anthony Towns, Zion Williamson, or Giannis Antetokounmpo? Type the initials of the player you think is most likely to be traded to New York. And look, if the Knicks make a move, we are going to make a video here on the channel. That's why you subscribe to Knicks Now by Chat Sports. Go to youtube.com/KnicksTV or just scroll on down. Hit that big red sub button. Sub for Knicks Dubs. We are a couple weeks away from training camp, about a month away from the preseason. Knicks basketball is back. Time to lock us back in. Hit that sub button and help us get to 27,500 subs. All right, the way I want to close out today's show is listing off the players that Begley named as to who I think is most likely to be traded to the Knicks. Number 1, Donovan Mitchell. And it is not summer 2022. It is summer 2023. And I still believe that Donovan Mitchell is the most likely player of the 6 names to be traded here. Why? It really boils down to one reason. Donovan Mitchell wants to be a Knick. And when players want to be a player of Team X, it helps facilitate trades much easier. Example this earlier this summer. What about Bradley Beal? A lot of teams could have traded for him. Did he have a no-trade clause? Yes. Did Donovan Mitchell have a no-trade clause? No. So a little bit different circumstances, but it boils down to this. There was only one team that Bradley Beal wanted to play for. It was the Phoenix Suns, and it made trading for him much easier. I think once the Cavs get word that Donovan Mitchell from his mouth does not want to sign a contract extension there, they're going to shift to trade talks. And if he tells them he wants to be a Knick, they might trade for him. At that point, there's not going to be much time on his contract, and I don't see another team trading for him, because why would you trade for Donovan Mitchell if you know he just wants to be a Knick? That's my guess. Number 2, I have the big fella, the 30-year-old MVP, Joel Embiid, the Philadelphia 76er, coming in at this spot on the list. And it kind of, look, a lot of smoke around this situation. I don't really expect a good season to happen out in the city of brotherly love. I don't think a good season is coming for the 76ers. And the fact that Joel Embiid Leon Rose and Worldwide Wes are really good friends, have business connections, have a working relationship, I think that also goes a long way. And as we know, the Knicks are primed to unload the chamber and make all of their draft capital be turned into assets to where they could trade for a superstar. And I think Joel Embiid, he's hinted about not wanting to be there anymore. I think this might be his last year in Philadelphia. Number 3 on this list, I winded up putting Zion Williamson there. It was tough for me to decide who should be 3 and who should be 4, but kind of like Donovan Mitchell, we know Zion wanted to be a Knick dating back to NBA draft lottery night when the Pelicans did win the lottery. He wanted to be a Knick. His best buddies with R.J. Barrett. There was reports that he stormed out of the NBA draft lottery green room where the Knicks didn't get to pick, and he wanted to be a Knick. Also, he's a CAA client. Leon Rose, he's the head of CAA Mafia. We know the Knicks like to trade for those type of players. I think Zion in the Knicks, if you're going to go all in for a player, swing for the fences. Go take a chance on a guy that could potentially be an MVP candidate. Zion has already done that. I know the health and the love for the basketball, is a question, but I do think he's got it in to be great. And I'd rather the Knicks swing for the fences on a guy like Zion for somebody that's really just a middle-of-the-pack star. We'll get to the final 3 players on today's show, but first I got to tell you about our proud sportsbook partner, BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code CHAT125. BetUS is going to hook you up with a 125% deposit bonus. Just go right here. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code CHAT125. All right, number 4 on today's show. Let's talk about the Greek Freak. I think Giannis is the 4th most likely player of these 6 to potentially be traded for the Knicks. Look, I don't think Giannis is going to be traded. I think Giannis is going to retire a Milwaukee Buck. I think he's going to follow that same lineage of Kobe Bryant. One team his entire career. But if he ever does force his way out, the New York Knicks are positioned just as good as some of the top teams when it comes to draft capital to trade for a superstar. You look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, you look at the Brooklyn Nets, and you look at the Utah Jazz. I think those are the top 3 teams ready to pounce if a deal becomes available for a player like Giannis, and I think the Knicks are in that class as well. They are in a great spot if Giannis forces his way out, which he's made some comments here pretty recently about how if the Bucks don't start winning championships, he's going to go somewhere else to try to get it done. At number 5, I have Karl-Anthony Towns, Sir Purr, coming in right here. Look, at the end of the day, the reason I have him as number 5 has nothing to do with how I feel about him as a player. It comes down to this. Knicks don't want Karl-Anthony Towns. Rumors were, according to Begley, the Knicks could have had Karl-Anthony Towns earlier this summer if they wanted him. They didn't make the trade. They're not all that interested. He doesn't mesh that well with the top players on this Knicks roster. Great offensive talent, no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, is he a Tom Thibodeau guy? Doesn't play defense. Hasn't really showed the ability to be a tough player in my mind. And I just think the Knicks are more interested in building around Julius Randle than Karl-Anthony Towns. And it'd have to be a swap, most likely, if they made that trade. I don't think the Knicks are that interested. And I think the past moves, or the lack of moves they have made more so, illustrate that point. The last player that I think is most likely to be a Knick that Begley mentioned in his write-up is OG Anunoby. You asked me this question 4 months ago. I would have had him inside the top 3. But did we forget that the Knicks are suing the Toronto Raptors? Or is Masai Ujiri really going to call up Leon Rose and try to make a deal as they're currently being sued for cheating and using inside information from the New York Knicks organization? Oh, I could be wrong. But I don't think that's going to happen at this point. I think OG fits the bucket, though, and fits the mold of what the Knicks need. A 3-and-D wing that could score and shoot it and defend at a high clip. But they're in a lawsuit right now, and I don't think that that's going to go away anytime soon. And I don't think this trade idea is going to rise to the horizon anytime soon as well. Look, you have to make a big time trade soon. It has to be coming soon. We told you why at the beginning of the show. This draft capital, it has an expiration date. And the Knicks don't have roster spots to be able to add that many more young players to the roster at this point, especially as they are trying to compete for a championship. Championship teams in a championship window, they don't draft 6 first-rounders in a 2-year period. That's my take on that one. As always, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you for tuning in to New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. If you haven't yet, give me a follow over on Twitter. Knicks season is here. That means I'm back tweeting about the Knicks every day. So give me a follow at @MarshallGreen_.